Previously on the Game Woven podcast. The sun set early on the east side of the mountain, casting shadows over the working neighborhoods of Reprieve as laborers rode the cable cars to and from the factory struts. Continuous exposure to alchemical reagents has many effects on a body. Some begin to manifest the ability to alter the iron or concrete or steam around them at will, which is, of course, illegal. Those with the knack begin to gather in the factory's boiler rooms to hone their craft, drink moonshine, and play industrial jazz, forming the societies of the Boiler Room Witches. In a shocking turn of events, a gang of eco-terrorists destroyed a munitions factory, their stated purpose? To destabilize the control of factory owners and foment revolt in the streets of Tarsig. Discontent and revolutionary fervor began to rise as the constabulary flooded the streets, and the city waited for what would happen next.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Game Woven. We're coming back to the city of Tarsig with, I'm sorry, did you say street magic? Last time on Game Woven, we established the city of Tarsig, which is more or less run by corporations, an oligarchy, if you will. And throughout the course of this, we established Strut Titan, which is where the munitions factories are. We established the gutter cat thieves. We created the Boiler Room Witches, and we created the little tiny village of Reprieve, which is sort of off to the side. And then we did a terrorism and destroyed the munitions factories.
Oops. You did
and
that.
Talked about the crackdown that followed. We'll probably do a better recap. I just wanted to segue us in to remind us all collectively what's going on, because my compass is over, so I no longer set the direction that we go for building the city. It is now Zad's turn, which is what we kind of decided we're going to do a compass for Zad, and then Emily's going to take the compass at the end here. So Zad, what is your compass?
So my compass, the one that I decided to go with for this, is things will soon begin to happen. Where we left off on the last event, after kind of that uneasy productivity with the munitions factory blowing and the crackdown imminent, and, you know, the gutter cat thieves planning a payroll heist. It's just like the ground is thoroughly seeded for things to start happening, and I want to explore that space between when it's almost like when the match gets lit and when the powder keg actually explodes. That's the space that we're playing in here. And then I get to do a wandering the city. And for the first one here, we are going to visit a landmark. I think the landmark that I want to start zooming in on here, I haven't quite come up with a good name for it, but it is what is functionally the actual seat of power.
Ooh.
Like we talked about how the corporations that are fighting with each other, they all kind of potentially descended from the same, like, one guy who had a bunch of kids and they all inherited their own corporation and started fighting or whatever. But the location that I want to do is the place where all of the really high level, basically the very important people in the city, so a few corporation leaders and probably like the chief of police and some important merchants or shipping folks will meet in this one building. And that's where there's a bunch of offices. It's the place where things kind of get done. I'm almost thinking like calling it the old stock exchange. Like they built a new stock exchange building, and then this old one maintained almost an identical purpose. It's just like it isn't quite as bustling, it isn't quite as busy, but it is still centrally located. So we're going to call it the old stock exchange. And it is, the next thing it has is an address, and I'm going to say that it's centrally located in what I'm calling Ocean View. Ocean View is on the far side of the caldera from Respite. It is the place that gets the really beautiful sunsets. It overlooks the ocean, which is why they call it Ocean View. On one hand, it's the city center. On the other hand, it's where all the rich people live. I think that it has its own special cable car that brings in servants who functionally can't afford to live there. So the old stock exchange it's centrally located in Ocean View.
when you were describing it, I absolutely pictured like box seats or something at a stadium almost along the edge, so they have almost like a not quite 360-degree view of the ocean, but they have perfect view of the ocean as well as everything inside of the caldera.
Oh, it's like a roundhouse.
Interesting.
Along the edge, not completely surrounding it, but where through one window they can just see the ocean and the beautiful view, and then if you go over to the other side, that's where they can like keep an eye and see everything going on in the town beneath them, almost like they have like they live on the ocean side, but their offices are on the caldera side.
And in the center, so I'm imagining like this is a cylindrical building, right, with windows all around it. But in the center is a courtyard, or what used to, and it used to be like an open courtyard, but they built in a circular theater style floor for doing speeches and announcements, and they put a very ornate dome over top of it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's great. So building itself is round, tower that goes up however many stories, open space in the center, so you can even like there's probably a bunch of lines that cross from one side of the interior of the building to another, so they can like pass notes, or they will throw paper airplanes to each other to get notes across and down floors. And then like around the outside,
Are these magically powered paper airplanes?
oh absolutely.
To make sure they get where they're going.
Just to add to sort of the paper trail whimsy, I'm imagining on the inner courtyard are all of these little like lines that run between all of the inner windows and balconies, and people will like zip line notes and packages back and forth from office to office internally.
Yeah. And then maybe like up at the top, is that where the actual board of directors, like the most important meeting room? It gives the illusion that it's poking itself up into the clouds. And so like there's an actual like cloud barrier there, and you can ascend up a staircase that's functionally invisible unless you know where it is. And that is the boardroom. They can see down from up top, but that's the most important meeting chamber is at the top of the old stock exchange.
Yeah, and if you're standing in the boardroom, the floor is invisible. But if you're looking up into the boardroom, you just see
clouds.
Yeah.
Sky, whatever.
Nightmarish. I would hate
Yeah.
standing on an invisible floor. I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah, you cannot be afraid of heights to be in this board. Or if you are, tough titties.
Yeah, that's not very hustle, bro.
Get over your fears or you'll never get anywhere.
That's not very rise and grind.
Oh, I'm picturing there might be some people who it does freak them out. So what they do is they basically pay people to like carry them around almost on like a litter, so they don't have to do it. Or like they create constructs to carry them, so they don't have to deal with that fear.
Do you think it was built to mess with newbies too? Like you have to step down to get into it?
Oh yeah, and the new guy, you're walking the new guy up like, all right, here's the boardroom, new guy, welcome to the club, and then you're like and then they push you.
Yep.
And then you just land on the floor. Oh,
It's fucking hazing.
Fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Business bros.
You have to deal with a lot to even get up to that level.
Oh yeah.
So if it phases you, if you don't just laugh and say, oh, that was a good joke, you're out.
That's actually a really good point. Like, yeah, the if you were someone who actually worked your way up instead of getting nepo babied, you would have to have nerves of fucking steel to get up there, because these people are all vultures with knives for talons. These are knife elemental, but like in a person form. These are bad people. And so by the time you get up there, like
they're gods.
Yeah.
They literally look down upon the people that work for them like ants.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said that, Bree, because in my head I was cooking up a true name that was sort of saying something like that. I don't know if you're ready for true names yet, Zad.
I'm ready for true names. Like, we've got the stuff that we need to get to that point, and we've got its address. What kind of true name were you thinking?
Where the gods show the bottom of their feet.
Interesting.
So the struts were all animal themed? And in theory, each strut was like owned by a different descendant. In theory,
More or less, yeah.
in my head, whatever the collection of these guys is, like the menagerie or like zoo something or now, you know.
Mm.
The God's Menagerie. I also had the thought of it's literally a glass ceiling.
That's it. That's the name. The literal glass ceiling.
The actual glass ceiling.
God's Menagerie, I like as a phrase, I don't know if it's the right one here, but Strut Titan. Because
Ooh,
everything
Strut
else is
Titan.
named after, these are named after mere beasts. This is Strut Titan.
Can I just say, world building wise, this is really cool. But also, I so look forward to shattering this thing.
Oh, we
Yeah.
built us a big-ass tower, and we're gonna Jenga the shit out of it.
It's also giving a little bit of like Tower of
But
Babel.
how do we do it where it doesn't fall on the people, though?
Are we happy? What did the true name ended up being?
I mean, I've got where the gods show the bottom of their feet, the glass ceiling, and Strut Titan as our like 3 potentials. A lot of these have multiple as opposed to 1.
We either don't give it a name, or it
Or we give
has
it a
at
lot of
least
names.
3. That's the only way we name things.
Unfortunately, this game's core mechanic revolves around naming things, so unfortunately, we have to take option B every fucking time.
Yep.
Your names can come from different places, so maybe Strut Titan would be what the business people call it. Like, that's what they recognize as the
Mhm.
true name.
Mhm.
And the glass ceiling might be what the workers call it, and where the gods show the bottom of their feet might be where
It's the aspirationals.
maybe the aspirationals, but I was also thinking like the really low folk,
Yeah.
the people under the workers, or the people who are on the fringes of society might see it as that.
Well, it's like the glass ceiling is what people who work there would call it because they think, oh, maybe I'll get up there someday. You know, the reason it's a
Mhm.
glass ceiling is to add to the metaphor of breaking it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the elusive promise of the glass ceiling being there. Is glass is brittle, it can be broken. Don't ever tell them that it can't be, or if you got up there, then they would use that glass to slit your throat and kick you back down. But where the gods show the bottom of their feet is like not the people that work there, people who see it, folks who can see it from like the far side of the caldera, people who they know what they're looking at, but they've never even been within 2 miles of the place. It's just, oh, that's Mount Olympus. We don't go there. We can't go there.
Mhm.
So I got those down. Somebody ready to wander the city?
That was Zad's Wander the Neighborhood. Lex, it is your turn to wander the city. What would you like to discover? A neighborhood, a landmark, or an NPC, a person, a man's?
A resident.
The compass is things will soon begin to happen.
Gotcha.
So, like,
okay.
the mood in the old stock exchange is, I don't know if any of y'all remember early March of the year 2020, when there was this funny little disease that people had been hearing about cropping up in China. But not everybody, but people were like, it's probably nothing. We probably don't need to worry about it too much. And then you start hearing these little rumors about, well, actually, they're starting to close down travel. And if you were working at a craft store like I was, somebody came in to ask for supplies for making a mask, pick up somebody who had been traveling overseas. But it's like this weird tension of everybody just goes about their day like it's normal. And there's nothing different aside from the occasional rumor that maybe your entire fucking life is about to change. And that's how it feels inside the old stock exchange.
I'll tell you this one, because I was in corporate during this wind-up period. I
Mhm.
was in the belly of the beast. One thing that I really noticed was I saw my bosses a whole lot less because they were always in meetings.
Mm.
I would just be like, "Hey, what's going on? Anything going on?" They're like, "Oh, we're busy right now. Just keep going forward. Keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a great job. Just keep on pushing, right? We're gonna be all right. This isn't a big deal." And then all of a sudden, it was a big deal, and it was just constant. The sense of pressure from above, with a smile pasted on it, as best as they possibly could. So yeah, Lex.
Okay, cool. And also, none of that is making it into the cut because that was all an aside, which is very funny to me.
I think a little bit of it might, but yeah.
Sure, a little bit.
Editing magic.
Did you say editing magic?
That's a game woven. All right, come on, Lex, let's go.
No, that's me.
Yes, both.
Yes, both. So, I'm gonna take us to a lovely little neighborhood that the locals mostly call Plaguetown, I think. So, from the magical experiments I've done, every now and again, there's the occasional minor magical mutation that occurs. Just like a little one, looking like part fish, growing an extra 3 feet and getting like gray skin or whatever. It's like normal. So, the corporations took responsibility for what they had in causing the mutations to some of the citizens and cleared them out a part of town to make just for them and like keep them there out of sight. So, maybe investors don't see that. But hey, they're being paid to live there, so like it's all great. They did, they like took part of the sewer system, like closed it off, cleared it out, and you live here now. It's all good.
It's in a part of the sewer system?
It's cleared out, it's fine.
Okay.
So is it just like a large pipe, or is it like a cistern, or?
It's like a series of pipes.
Okay.
But they're like big.
This town's in a caldera that's like a lot of it's full of water.
Uh-huh.
Is this like in like the sewer system like around the edge of the caldera, or is this in one of the struts, or is this like
Oh, it's like directly below the one we were just describing.
It's below
Oh.
Ocean View.
It's
Yeah.
under Ocean View. Okay.
Yeah. They're like, hey, we're gonna give you somewhere to live in Ocean View. It's great. It's a great part of the city.
So rather than like in a cistern or in like a large chamber area, what I'm sort of picturing, like Futurama, what I'm picturing is what I'm picturing is it's a series of tunnels, and it's more like the people that live in the subways. And so there's there's piping all the way through, and that's how you get from place to place. But there's also like doors, and there's areas carved out into the mountain.
Yep.
There's maintenance rooms, and they've just repurposed all of that infrastructure and turned it into kind of a tube city.
Yeah, they moved on to magical piping and stuff. So this just became unnecessary. So I went, I don't know, you can live here, man.
But I also think that on occasion, when the caldera is really going and they need to vent some water, I think on occasion they'll send them like a 24-hour notice, like, oh, hey, by the way, we're gonna flood your pipes, so you better figure that out. It only comes up like a couple times a year, but they just run a ton of hot water out of the pipes and then let it all dry out.
Like I said, they're paying them to live there in exchange for all the mutations. So they just pay them extra on those days.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Another thing about having it be under Strut Titan is when you build buildings really tall, the foundation has to be dug really deep. So I wonder if some of these tunnels and so forth maybe partially go through some of the foundation. Maybe there is a room in some of this neighborhood. People literally live under Strut Titan.
Are you saying that the CEOs dug too deep and too greedily?
Yes.
I think that there are people from Plaguetown that live in the walls of the old stock exchange.
They're not supposed to, but they sure do.
They're not supposed to.
But they're not monitoring that closely to stop them, because what if it's contagious or something?
Yeah.
Ooh.
They don't want
They're
to be
friends with the
ostracized just in
boiler
case.
room witches too.
Obviously.
Because
Yeah.
the boiler room witches
Sure.
communicate through the pipes, so they're absolutely. And the boiler room witches, their magic came from lower scale mutations, so.
But I think, despite all of this, Plaguetown is pretty banged.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
They're getting paid enough, they don't need to work anymore. Mutations aside, it's real bad. some of them, it's debilitating.
They don't really get to see the sunlight a whole lot.
But for the ones that like can function normally, they're not rich. But for for the peasants they were 5 minutes ago, they're pretty well off.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of for the impoverished, it's a lot of extravagance, minus the occasional floods or whatever.
Yeah.
I wonder how many higher ups maybe have, through one accident or air quotes around the word accident or another, been changed, especially after the stuff exploded and that magic started to spread. I wonder if maybe we're starting to see more of the, maybe not like higher ups, but like middle management, managerial people starting to develop mutations and being paid to go move into Plaguetown. Like, no, that's not for us. Yes, it is. You have gills. Yes, it is.
I think at least one of the descendants in charge of this place is in the process of mutating and has been visiting Plaguetown and have been like, oh no, the consequences of my actions.
Yeah.
And now there's some rich asshole who's like, hey guys, what if we fix things? Because I feel bad about what I've done.
Oh yeah, there's this big explosion, and at one of the meetings, one of the COOs, not the top guy, but right under the top guy, comes in and all of a sudden has a change of heart about Plaguetown, and everyone's looking at him like, huh, I wonder what happened to you.
Yeah, he has 4 scales on his neck under his collar, but it's it's getting slowly worse. He's like, but what if?
He's been keeping his hand in his pocket the whole time.
Yeah.
He's just far enough out of the complete inner circle that he knows that he's just gonna get sent down. Rich families probably are able to protect their own kids. There's the occasional mutant that stays within a rich family, but this guy up and comer managed to step on enough people, just doesn't have the wealth or connections to do that. And it's just oh no.
I love how we've also accidentally made a person as well as a neighborhood.
We did make a person. Are we establishing that these are fish adjacent type mutations as well? Some of them not good, some of them
all across the spectrum of mutations you can think of. Some of them are just simply third arm. Some of them are fully different species that has now appeared.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's all over the place, I think.
Mm-hmm. And this on top of your seizures, massive synesthesia, things like that.
Yeah, I think it's only the quote-unquote aesthetically unpleasing that get asked to move to Plaguetown.
Oh yeah. That's how it is.
If you just get funky colored hair, whatever, dude.
Just dye it. Get yourself a hat of disguise. We can manufacture those. What kind of reputation does Plaguetown have among the broader populace?
So a lot of people take the extravagance that they do as just they view them as addicts or something, but it's just no, we know how to have fun. There's a difference. There's oh, look at all that alcohol and drugs they're buying. They're destroying themselves. No, we're just having a party.
And they go down to party with them.
So how Reprieve is loved by the workers of Tarsig and hated by the bosses, I think it's the exact opposite. I think the bosses actually really like Plaguetown, because bosses can't love anything. In a darkly practical way, Plaguetown is an elegant solution to a complicated problem for them.
It's cheaper to hide all the people they fucked up than it is to try and cure them in any way.
And it keeps them happily out of sight.
And because they're on the take, Plaguetown doesn't really cause a whole lot of trouble, really.
They don't need to.
Not yet.
That they know of.
Everybody who has money and lives in Ocean View remembers their days where they were partying down in Plaguetown. Everybody went to those underground punk shows.
All the rich kids go down there for fun. So is that generation of the rich people who are their kids are hey, this is a little uncool maybe, but all their parents are what do you mean?
It's the way it's always been. It's the best. Everyone is happy. Everyone wins. I don't see a problem with this. You are literally putting people in the sewers.
And those kids are like just now getting into those positions of authority, right? Like they're just getting old enough to be like, I mean, you know, there's cool stuff down there, I guess, but like, hey, I met some of the mutants. They're pretty cool. Do we have to keep them sequestered away? And so it's like, just, you know, picking at the underlying logic of the society as this generation who knows those people and on occasionally like develops that solidarity, are starting to move into like out of entry level jobs and into kind of more meaningful ones. That's a really interesting place to have. What kind of true name are we thinking for
complicated dynamic.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like it might be inspired by some actual dynamics that take place in cities. Lex, you pulling on some real world things?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, God forbid we be too on the nose with anything.
Oh, you say that. My first thought for a true name is the secret that will burn the city.
That's fun.
The underestimated undercity.
How do we feel about like gas leak?
Oh, gas leak.
Gas leak.
That's not what I heard the first time.
That's what I heard.
I heard gas leak.
I mean,
Haunter.
Gengar. Here we go.
Let me throw a weird one at you. No, this isn't a bit, I promise. I'm not doing a bit. The varicose throat. The forgotten, abandoned vein work beneath the head of the city.
This is an early draft Bloodborne name. The varicose throat.
Yeah.
That's some Bloodborne shit, which it fits the setting if we're honest. Varicose throat.
Yeah.
It's also the name of my dad rock band. Oh!
Stop! Got everything in your
Of
band.
course you have one of those.
I am in the process of Googling the word varicose just so that we know.
Uh-huh. We've never used a word wrong before on Gamebook.
I mean, yeah, well, yeah. Okay, yeah, but like, swollen twisted veins that lie just under the skin is actually a very apt word. So the varicose throat, love that. Got that on there. We got any other ideas?
I had pitched the underestimated undercity. Because no one expects anything to like come from that, and it's built under the city.
Yeah, it's solid. I do dig the varicose throat in like a gross way.
Yeah. This place is actually kind of great.
Plaguetown ended up being actually really, really... It became more complex than I thought it was going to be. I'll tell you that, yeah.
Have more faith in me,
Plaguetown's just the best of a bad time.
The spurned asylum, instead of overlooked, or under...
All right, now who's making
That's what you-
Bloodborne-ass titles for stuff?
Bloodborne!
I'm not saying that Bloodborne-ass titles are Bloodborne some great names.
I was stuck on Spurned Asylum for 3 fucking days.
That still breathes name run through a thesaurus.
Oh my...
All right. So, Emily, you are up. It's your turn.
Explore the city. Neighborhood landmark or a fellow.
I do think we're sitting pretty good on neighborhoods right now. We've only got a couple of landmarks and one resident.
We did technically set up part of a fellow just now, if you want to keep exploring that fellow.
We also set up a part of a neighborhood, but
Yeah,
true.
all that's really missing is the true name. Well, I guess, and a reputation. But speaking of witches, I'm kind of feeling boiler room witches. Do I want to do a
Ooh.
landmark or a resident, though?
I am into either.
To you.
What would a landmark be for the boiler room witches? Because they're technically a neighborhood, but they exist within really like most of the neighborhoods.
Like a place of power for them, some sort of shrine, some sort of like...
Ooh.
What if they have a landmark at the bottom of the caldera?
Yeah!
Okay.
Fucking go!
And by at the
Okay.
bottom, do you mean like under the water?
Yeah. Yeah, like no, literally
cool.
at the base of the volcano under the lake.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like right at the steam vent. Okay.
Is there a pipe system that brings it there, or are they just magic the way there?
Magic. They've got some magical barriers set up. Yeah.
What is it?
They could literally just magic the pipe system.
They crawl into their magic boiler they've converted into a submarine.
Oh yeah.
I actually really love that, and it's
I'm more
very on
pitching
theme.
walking downstairs, but that works too.
That was a bit.
Bits become it on Game Woven.
Bits become it.
That is Game Woven, baby.
That needs to be a t-shirt.
So Game
What
Woven
is
had a
the
baby.
landmark?
What is it? They get there in a variety of ways. Sometimes it's magic stairs. Sometimes you like suck yourself into a pneumatic pipe. Sometimes it's a.
You
It's
guys,
a
getting
submarine.
there is the landmark.
Oh, God. It's the journey, not the destination. It's very much the destination.
The real landmark were the friends we made along the way.
What is the ultimate boiler room but the base of a semi-active volcano with lakes? I mean, the whole thing is a boiler room. It's all steam vents.
That is actually very astute. But what is it? What's the landmark?
I'm stalling, Ben.
Ben, shut the fuck up! They're stalled.
What metal haven't we fucked around with? There's a lot of brass here, right? No, not brass. Yeah,
Yeah,
iron.
no,
Iron.
Brass,
Bronze.
iron.
bronze.
Bronze.
Like the
Brian.
bronze. It's the animal statues. I think we said are bronze.
No, that's
No, the
it's
animal
cast iron.
statues I think we said are either brass or iron.
Cast iron. They're cast
Cast
iron.
Cast iron.
Oh, they're cast iron.
Yeah, they're cast iron. Witches tend to go with silver really well.
Okay.
That's my
Like
personal
kind of the
opinion.
werewolves.
Yeah.
But
Nod werewolves.
We haven't actually established that's part of our werewolf lore yet.
yeah, we can do whatever we want.
That's true.
Break the stereotypes or use them for ideas when you have none.
Werewolves weak to carrots.
Werewolves? There, right over there.
Notoriously awful.
So a silver thing. What are you bubbling up here?
Silver thing, we have witches that communicate through sound. Oh, they communicate through sound a lot. I can use that. We can use that. I do think it should be a meeting ground, because they should have somewhere that they can all gather together that they have no worry to be found. So, some sort of meeting ground at the bottom of the caldera in the natural steam vents as the ultimate boiler room.
And silver as an element.
And silver as an element.
Silver Steam Lodge.
A cavern that the walls are lined with silver. No one knows who made it there or why it came to be there, but some of the steam vents they're able to get there. They might have had to craft their own entrances, but they're able to manipulate metals.
Ooh, metal magic. The cooler, hardcore version of meta magic.
Hey.
Yeah, because when I first created them, it was more of an industrial feel to it, so they can like manipulate steam and metal, and it was literally industrial magic.
Which they can then use it with their hand signals to make noise on the pipes without actually having to touch them in case they need to do something less obvious.
Mm-hmm.
What is the actual landmark?
Big pipe organ?
It's the silver cavern.
Yeah, I think the whole thing is just lined with silver.
It's just a silver cavern.
Ooh,
Does silver reflect magic? Does it make it stronger?
potentially. I also had the thought of what if there is this natural looking structure in the center that's made of a bunch of different types of like rocks and metals and crystals all together, that when people go down there they can practice working with all those different materials to figure out how to work with them and get them to work together.
It's like their training ground. It's where they can help pass on their magics, the knowledge that they've gained while being in a safe space.
Yeah, for
I like
people
that.
who want to know more than just how do I not accidentally bend steel when I'm rabbit or something like that, because
If one gets caught, it endangers all of them.
We'll teach you the basics of like how to control it and how to use it intentionally so that you don't use it accidentally. But if you really want to get into it, you need to go to the Silver Cavern or the Silver Boiler Room.
I'm starting to gather sort of how they pass on their knowledge. So the Boiler Room Witches, generally you discover that you have some kind of a magical talent, and usually it's related to like one thing, right? Like one witch might be able to push grime away. One witch might be able to control some wind. They're very like, they're basically, it seems to me from just sort of remembering, they're basically like really specific benders, right? So you're not a water bender, you're a goop bender, or you're you're not an earth bender, you're like a clay bender or a granite bender. Like it's really specific.
Well, they work on an assembly line that it would make sense that their magic manifests in such a specific way.
Yeah. So if you're cool, if you hang out, if you lurk enough, I mean, you got there. It's a lot of it's based on vibes. Like they got to feel you out for a while before they let you do this. And usually, what'll happen is like a younger witch will get paired with an older witch, and it'll be like, okay, you're good with granite, so we're just gonna work with granite, right? We're just and if they're a good student, they'll be like, so, would you like to do other materials? And then they bring them down there, and then they start training down there. So if they want to expand out of their hyper specific spot, they go down there and they practice with these materials, and they have to go down there a ton. And at first, they have to do it with their teacher, because the teacher is the only one that can like manifest the magic bubble or put them in the steam elevator or whatever that gets them down there. But then eventually, like one of the lessons that they need is one of their first tests is they just get a note from their teacher that says, okay, meet me down in the Silver Caverns.
I like that.
And it's like, what? Yeah, figure it out.
If you can't make it there, then sorry.
Then yeah, if you can't make it there, then you've failed your first major test.
All right. So we've got a location. We've got a title. What's the true name for this place? Or what are true names for this place?
The Argent Halls.
I was going to get Argent in there too. So Lex, you son of a bitch. I was looking up. I'm like, oh, it's AG. What's AG? Argentum. Damn it.
I know Latin, bitch.
Yeah, Lex
That you
just
do.
Latin mogged me.
What about the Echoless Caverns? Because it's a place where they can be heard that they are not overheard.
Echoless. Gotcha.
Echoless is so, so good. I think we got it. Echoless Caverns or the Argent. I like Argent Halls so much.
Argent Hall's really fucking good. Alrighty,
Flipping me
awesome.
off. I liked it.
Thank you for listening to Game Woven. If you like what we're doing, pop on by the review section in your favorite podcasting app and leave us a review. You can also support us over on Patreon. This week we were playing I'm Sorry, Did You Say Street Magic by Caro Assercion, featuring Brianna Jean, ttbenjamin, Lex Olden, Zadkiel Vaske-Huff, and Emily.